Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something, I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and welcome into this week's edition of Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and this go-round, well, I'm blessed to say that I have four wonderful friends that I get to share some time with, plus share with you, and they come from all different aspects of the game. Starting with a guy who is a true legend. He played and won in what I consider to be the golden era of the game back in the 70s and 80s, and later transitioned to being one of the all-time greats behind the microphone as well as a course designer, and that is Bruce Devlin. Bruce is one of the top Australian players of all time. He won the Australian Open back in 1959, much later in his career, at a time when players were kind of given up on shortly after they turned the age of 40. Well, we all remember Mr. Nicklaus, right, being told prior to the 86 Masters at 46 years of age that he was done. Well, Bruce showed that he wasn't done at that age either. At 45, he was in the mix at the 1982 U.S. Open. You'll remember that's the year that Tom Watson made that amazing chip-in on the 71st hole at Pebble Beach to win it. Well, Bruce was the 36-hole leader and had a share of the lead early in that final round. The following year, he won the New Zealand Open in thrilling fashion, birdieing the final hole to clip Bobby Clampett by a stroke. You're going to hear all of those stories. Plus, you'll hear how shocked I was when I asked him if former players who aspired to get into broadcasting have called him asking for his advice, and he said no. I was stunned because he was such a huge part of the broadcasts in the 80s and the 90s. His calls and analysis, nothing short of great, but no one called him. Maybe that's a small part of the reason why so few have done it as well since. So I think you're going to love Bruce as much as I do, and he's going to join me here in just a few minutes. Following him is a guy who, in my opinion, belongs in the World Golf Hall of Fame for the way his writing forever changed golf journalism, and that's Ron Sirak. The only thing that's remotely similar between Ron and I is that we're both Yinzers from Western Pennsylvania. It isn't much regarding our similarities, but I'll take it. Ron has received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the PGA of America, which, in my opinion, that alone should get him into the World Golf Hall of Fame. The folks over at the Associated Press have said that Ron changed golf journalism for them forever, which is a heck of a thing for something as huge as the AP, as important in sports history as the AP, for them to say about Ron. He and I take a look back at the U.S. Open and Oakmont's place in golf lore. He also tells us about his roots in Western Pennsylvania, the struggles his parents and neighbors went through when the steel mill started to close down in the early 1960s, how the Pirates and Mr. Palmer buoyed the spirits of the city as all of that was taking place. Plus, you'll hear the story of another Western Pennsylvania golf legend that not enough people know about. She is perhaps the greatest female amateur of all time. You're going to hear who that is and all of Ron's stories when he joins me about 30 minutes from now. Then in part two, making it a trio of all-timers, I get a return visit from tour caddy Kip Henley. Most of you know Kip from being on the bag for a number of great players like Vijay Singh, Brian Gay, Stuart Sigbu Whitley, to name just a few. But here are some things that you might not know about Kip. He's won just about every tournament there is to win in his home state of Tennessee. The Chattanooga City Prep Championship, the Tennessee Assistant Pro Championship, the State Open Championship twice, the State PGA Section Championship 4 times, the Senior Open, and he's been named the Player of the Year 5 times. In his hometown of Chattanooga, he's in their Hall of Fame, and how he is not in the state's Hall of Fame is a huge mystery to me. So Look, it is something that I have been campaigning for the last couple of years. I don't know why it's falling on deaf ears, because what's our brother got to do to get into the State Hall of Fame? What more could he win? What more could he do? It's just not possible. He should be in there. So we'll talk about a little bit of that. We'll revisit some of his big wins. We'll also talk about some of his wins that he was on the bag for, plus a couple of regrets he has for bags that he's quit. Now, look, Kip is a great guy, one of my all-time favorites. I know you're going to enjoy his stories because he's such a great storyteller and a wonderful individual. Then we're going to wrap things up with a visit from Unicore's VP of Sales, Aaron Waltz. The in-home golf simulator market, folks, is just going crazy. The technology is getting more and more lifelike all the time, and Unicore has got it right. And the prices are becoming more affordable. And when you think about how much it costs for a family and friends to go play golf or to go places like Topgolf, if you do those things, even on a semi-regular basis, and add up the associated costs, and then compare it to investing in an in-home simulator, well, the costs start to equal out pretty quickly. Particularly if you have junior golfers who you aren't sure if they really love the game yet or not, and you want to introduce it to them in a very fun way. Plus, instead of being away from your family for 6 or so hours on a weekend, and if you have a simulator downstairs, now those hours are spent together having a blast doing so. Simulators are great for family time or time competing against your buddies, whether in person if they're local, or if they're really anywhere in the world, because you compete against them online. And then as an added bonus, the simulator can double as an in-home theater with a huge screen that has great picture quality. Aaron got me all fired up about it, and I think you're going to love what he has to say. So, folks, it's an amazingly fun episode ahead for you, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So I thank you, as always, for pressing play and taking the journey with me over the next couple of hours. Okay, but before we get into this week's show, I want to start off by giving a shout out to our good friends over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. TribLive.com is the leading news website for Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock. Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, a podcast network, which you can find next on the T on. So go out and bookmark TribLive.com or download the Trib Live app for free and stay up to date with all the news in Western Pennsylvania and this show. I want to welcome a new member to the Next on the Tee family, Sunday Swagger. Tired of boring golf clothes? Sunday Swagger is changing the game with premium performance apparel that delivers the look and feel of $100 polos for much, much less. Never sacrificing on style or comfort, their bold polos, shorts, and outerwear feature 4-way stretch and moisture-wicking fabric that moves with you, whether you're crushing drives or crushing happy hour. With over 300 unique designs and vibrant colors, ranging from bestsellers like Jawbreaker to exclusive collaborations with Guinness, Sunday Swagger offers something for everybody. And their matching prints for couples and families with children are flying off the shelves as their most popular styles. You might even recognize Sunday Swagger designs in popular Hollywood movies and TV shows, including Happy Gilmore 2. Sunday Swagger is guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversation. Visit SundaySwagger.com and join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits. Sunday Swagger. It's your swagger. Embrace it. Own it. And folks, this year, get ready to experience the game like you've never experienced it before at the Keep. It's the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course up at Macklemore. Nestled high atop Lookout Mountain, the Keep offers breathtaking vistas that are even more spectacular in person than they are in the pictures and the videos. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round there is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore this year. The Keep is open for preview play and it's waiting for you. But you gotta hurry now because spots and availability are filling up fast. So don't wait. Check out both courses, the Highlands and the Keep, for yourself online at themacklemore.com. And then do yourself and your buddies, or yourself and your family a solid by getting your spot reserved now. And experience distance and forgiveness all at once with the new QI35 driver from TaylorMade. QI35 is designed to give golfers more distance from more of the face while maintaining maximized forgiveness through high MOI designs. Whether you're looking for low spin and maximum workability or easy launch and plenty of adjustability, it's available in low spin, core, and max models. QI35 also has a full assortment of fairway woods and rescues to deliver distance and forgiveness throughout the top end of your bag. Check them all out online at TaylorMadeGolf.com. All right, now back in Next on the Tee with me is one of the all-time great legends in our game, and that is Bruce Devlin. As you know, Bruce had an amazing career. He won 8 times out on the PGA Tour, once out on the Champions Tour, and totaled 31 wins worldwide. He is one of only 4 players to make a double eagle at the Masters. He did so holing a 4-wood on the par 5 8th hole back in 1967. He played in 61 majors, made the cut 51 times, and had 16 top 10 finishes. His last win on the PGA Tour came at the 1983 New Zealand Shell Open at 46 years of age. He was 57 when he beat Dave Eichelberger in a playoff to win the FHP Healthcare Classic out on the Champions Tour. Bruce retired from competitive golf in 1998 to focus on his golf course design business, and he has designed over 150 courses worldwide. He's also one of the all-time great broadcasters in our game. He made every tournament he was on the mic for infinitely better because of his insights and broadcasting style, and I am beyond thrilled. He is back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Bruce, how are you, my friend?
Oh, thank you, Chris. Glad to be with you, friend.
So, Bruce, I want to start out our time by going back to the U.S. Open at Oakmont. I believe you played in 3 U.S. Opens there in 62, 73, and 83. I wanted to get your memories of trying to tame Oakmont.
I didn't have a very successful fight with that might be the hardest golf course I think that I've ever played a major on.
Is that right?
Yeah, it can be a brute.
I think the guys would agree with you from this year's tournament. The par 3 8th hole this time around, almost 300 yards, Bruce. The average driver length, I believe, on tour when you were out there was somewhere around 260, 270 yards. Can you believe we're playing 300-yard par 3s now?
Well, I can because I still watch a bit of the golf, and I'm astounded when you see players hit a 3-wood off the fairway and carry it 285 yards. I mean, it's just remarkable what's happened to the game.
One of your many wins out on tour came at the 1972 Houston Open. You won it that year by 2 strokes over Tommy Aaron, Lou Graham, and Doug Sanders, a tournament that would later be played on a course that you designed, TPC at the Woodlands, which featured one of the first island greens out on tour. Talk about winning that tournament in 72 and then later getting to host it at one of your courses.
Well, it was an honor because many years before, my partner and I, Von Hagee, we designed a golf course for spectators. And when we built the East Course at the Woodlands, we incorporated some of those ideas and built some spectator mounds as well as designed the golf course. So it was interesting to see a championship played on it, and I think it held up pretty well.
How does the island green that you guys created compare to the one we see every year at TPC Sawgrass?
I would think that the one at TPC probably in slightly inclement weather plays more difficult. To be quite honest with you,
is that right?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty intimidating.
Bruce Hal Sutton, who is a wonderful friend of this show, he lives outside of Houston now. He designed his own wonderful golf course, which is about 35 miles outside of Houston, called the Darmore Club. But Hal won the Houston Open at TPC Woodlands back in 2001. Were you around the golf course that week when Hal took home the title?
No, I was probably in the mountains of Arizona.
Is that right?
Yeah. My wife and I had bought a home up in the mountains in 2000, and so I'd have been up in the mountains in 2001.
You had a great run of play when you were in your mid-40s. Back in the day, players were given up for being done once they reached around 40, certainly around 45, and we all know how everyone wrote off Jack Nicklaus going into the 86 Masters when he was 46 years of age. Well, you were nearly 45 You finished 10th in the 82 U.S. Open that year. We remember Tom Watson winning it dramatically with that chip in on the 71st hole. But talk
Right.
about playing well into your mid-40s.
Well, I went for 2 or 3 years there where the game was very difficult because of the time that I was spending doing other things like TV and building golf courses. And then I got, in about late 81, I don't know, I found something and started to play a lot better. And I remember the one thing I remember about the 82 Open at Pebble was that I got up on Sunday morning and the San Francisco Chronicle had a green sports section. And the headline in the green sports section was Old Warhorse Leads the Open.
Wow.
So I became an old warhorse.
And you made a charge in that final round, right? You had the 36-hole lead, as I recall, and then went out and birdied 3 of your first 5 holes on Sunday to get back into a share of the lead. So you were right there.
I was, and then I missed a little putt at 7, and then I drove it in the rough at 9 and made a double. And then I think I followed up a double at 9 with a bogey at 10, and that sort of took me out of it. It was fun while it was really intense, but
I bet.
once it slips away, it's not so good.
The following year, you go out and win the New Zealand Open. So at 46, you get back into the winner's circle. Not bad for an old warhorse. I believe the tournament got shortened to 54 holes that year because of bad weather in the third round, kind of washed it out. But you beat Bobby Clampett by a stroke, and you did it in dramatic fashion with a birdie on the final hole. Had to be a huge win and a huge thrill for you.
Yeah, it was. That was a great win for me. It was sort of, I guess, my relationship with Bob Charles and the fact that I'd won the New Zealand Open before, I decided to go over there and play. And all of a sudden, here I am with a chance to win. So that was a bit of a shock.
I want to go back now. We started at the tail end of your career. I want to go back to the early days now because you won the 1959 Australian Amateur Championship. You did so by defeating Jack Coogan in the final match. He was the medalist that year, having won the 36-hole stroke play part of the tournament prior to match play. And that was the first year, I believe, that the tournament kind of went to that format of stroke play, then match play. And you outdueled him to win that amateur title. Talk about what it was like getting that one.
Well, that was pretty special. And it was done at Royal Sydney, one of our great courses in Sydney. So it was fun to win there. I never really expected it, but you never know, do you?
Why didn't you expect it? You were such a great amateur player.
Well, he had been he'd been the medalist, and he'd sort of been wiping everybody off the map as he was going through. And I figured, well, I'm going to have to do something special, and fortunately, I did, which was great.
After your playing days, Bruce, you became one of the very best broadcasters on TV from the late 70s to the late 90s in our game. And you just don't become an all-time great just because someone handed you a microphone. How did you transform yourself into being such a great broadcaster?
I asked probably one of the greatest producers of golf back in those days, a guy by the name of Don Ohlmeyer, whose name I'm sure you'll remember.
For sure.
And I said to him when he first came over from ABC to NBC, I said to him, tell me what to do as a color guy for golf. He said, well, see that television set right there that we're looking at? He said, don't talk about that because the people back in their living room see exactly what you're seeing. So talk about your friends, their idiosyncrasies, the weather, the this, the that, but stay away from what you can see on the TV. So I thought that was great advice.
So let's take that a step further, Bruce, because I think that's a lot of the frustration that we golf fans have when we're watching tournament golf nowadays on TV. We hear the obvious. I can see that this is what just happened. We don't get the detail and the things that you were just alluding to. Is it
Yeah.
hard not to do that? Is it hard not to be able to just talk about the things that your eyes are seeing and to focus on the detail around it? Because it seems like so many of those guys do exactly the opposite of what you did.
Well, Chris, fortunately for me, I mean, I really took that information to heart and thought about it all the time. So uh, I didn't find it very difficult to do, to be quite honest with you.
Was it hard to start commentating on the guys that you used to be out there playing with? Is it hard to, make sure you're not hurting people's feelings or not throwing guys under the bus when you're watching them play and trying to commentate on it?
I think you got to be a little bit careful about it, but the fact of the matter is you need to talk about what has happened. Did he hit a bad shot? Well, yeah, he did. I mean, he took that flag on when he shouldn't have been taking it on, or whatever. But fortunately, I never got into any situations in the TV where my fellow competitors were mad at me, which
That's
which I suppose was good.
good. Indeed. Your fellow countryman, Ian Baker Finch, who's a wonderful friend of the show. Ian was just on with me a couple of weeks ago. We saw that he hung up his headset, and Finchy was such a talented player. He was fantastic in the booth. Did you talk to him at all over the course of his career about how to do this or that? Did you coach him at all?
No, not really. I always had, contact with him throughout his career. He was always, like you said, it's a great player and had a fabulous TV career. But no, he was sort of, he was a bit behind me, so I didn't get to spend a lot of physical time with him. But we often spoke on the phone.
Have other guys over the years reached out to you, kind of mentorship as guys have tried to make the transition from playing to getting behind the microphone?
No, no,
Really?
nobody. No, nobody.
Wow. I find that hard to imagine. Again, you're one of the all-time greats. I don't know if they were intimidated to reach out to you, but I would think if I were a guy that was trying to make that transition, I'd look back to the greats of the game and try to figure out what they did and try to get some mentorship in order to get to, kind of that same place.
Yeah, well, no, I never did have anybody do that. So,
You mentioned some of the great producers that you had an opportunity to work with, and now you and Mike Gonzalez, you guys have your own wonderful podcast. It's called For the Good of the Game. I was checking out some of the recent episodes, and you had Lance Barrow on, and Lance was a longtime coordinating producer there at CBS Sports. Talk about your relationship with him and the conversation that you guys had with him.
yeah, I probably had a bit a closer relationship to the guy before him. I've lost his name. Lance Barrow had a fabulous career, and I think he picked up on what his predecessor had done, starting to innovate different things in golf. And I think what CBS has done, they've done a terrific job of introducing new technology.
One of the other great broadcasters, commentators that I had the privilege of getting to spend some time with early on in this show was Ben Wright. Did you ever have an opportunity to sit down with Ben?
Oh, I spent a lot of time with Ben over the years. Yeah, yeah, he's a great guy.
When you guys got to spend some time together, was there any bit of what he was doing that sort of rubbed off on you when you became a broadcaster?
No, not really. It's funny because most of the time we were talking about other people. So no, nothing much rubbed off, I don't think.
Bruce, away from the game, but when you were still in it, were there some guys that you really enjoyed hanging out with, spending some time with, and getting away from the game, whether you guys, went out to dinner or, did some other things that weren't golf related, but it just became such close friends that you ended up spending time together, like I say, off the course?
Well, I must say I started my relationship with Gary Player when I was 17 years old. I played an exhibition with him in Australia. So I've known him for 70 years. And we've remained friends throughout this whole thing, and particularly the last 2 or 3 years, because as you know, Gary lost his wife Vivian and I lost my wife Gloria. So we've sort of been like the two old guys that are wondering what the hell they're going to do for the rest of their life without a wife.
Like I mentioned, you've designed over 150 courses around the world. Talk about some of your golf course design and what made you decide that that's the direction you wanted to go once you stopped playing the game.
I sort of fell into it backwards, really. I was a member of the Lakes Golf Club in Sydney, and the captain of the club knew I was coming over to America to play on the tour, and he said, "Look, they're going to put a freeway through our golf course, and could you check and see, check with some architects over there and try to give us a feel about somebody who might be able to block out the freeway as it comes through the golf course." And I thought, boy, that doesn't sound like an easy job. Anyhow, I made a recommendation that they hire Robert Von Hagee, and then he and I, for one reason or another, got together as a company, and we probably built 130 odd golf courses together. So it turned out to be a good relationship until it wasn't.
Wow. Okay. And much like going from being a player to being a broadcaster, again, you don't just decide to be a great broadcaster. There are things that go into that sort of thing. Being a great golf course designer, you just don't decide one day, hey, I think I'll build a golf course, or someone reaches out to you and asks for some advice. I mean, you got to learn an awful lot about agronomy and things of that nature. How did you pick up on the subtleties of what it takes to make a great golf course?
Well, my expertise certainly is in agronomy. I think probably my expertise was to look at a topography of a piece of property and try to work my way around through it, and try to move as little dirt as I possibly could to make it a nice golf course. So I think that's was the best part of my talent as an architect, was finding my way around through topography.
How do you see, or how do you vision a golf course? Because I'm imagining you're looking out over an expanse of property, and now you got to figure out how you're going to cut the holes in and that sort of thing. To your point, moving as little dirt as possible, maybe cutting down as few trees as possible. How do you get that vision? Where does that come from?
I wish I knew. I'm not sure where it comes from, Chris.
I know Jack Nicklaus, he's up there with you with the golf course design business. Did you ever get to spend some time with Jack talking about what it's like to design a golf course?
No, I must admit I never have. And of course, from a friendship standpoint, I probably spent as much time with Jack as anybody except Gary and maybe David Graham.
Is that right?
Yeah, I came over here in 1963 with my wife and two children, and they came over on a boat, and I went to the Far East and played 3-4 golf tournaments there, and ended up in Wilmington, North Carolina, and they arrived on the boat, traveled across the country in a train, and then I went broke about 4.5 weeks before they had a boat ride back, so they went to the Nicklauses in Columbus and stayed.
Wow, is that right?
Which was pretty remarkable, really.
Indeed. So
Yeah.
talk about your relationship with Jack over the years. I mean, you guys went similar paths, from playing golf and winning championships to designing golf courses, and talk about your friendship with him over the number of decades that you guys have known each other.
Well, we had a mutual friend by the name of Norman von Nider. He knew Jack as well as he knew me. And then in 1960, I was picked in the Eisenhower Cup team again, because Australia won the first one, and we were playing at Merion, right? And I thought, gee, I'm gonna contact Mr. Nicklaus and see if I can't spend some time in Columbus with him, which I did. Then he and I drove to St. Louis and played in the U.S. Amateur, and Dean Beeman beat the both of us. And then we went further along a little later in the year and played in the Eisenhower Cup matches in Marion. So
Bruce,
I've known Jack a long time too.
just a couple more before I let you go, Bruce. And you mentioned the
Sure.
name Dean Beeman.
Yeah.
And I've asked a lot of your contemporaries. You know, the professional game of golf has obviously been fractured, the whole live golf thing and all that.
Right.
I contend, and some of your contemporaries as well, if Dean Beeman were still commissioner, we wouldn't be in this position at the professional level. What are your thoughts on that?
I would have to confer with that opinion 100%. I I can't say what I really think about it because, but no, I think if Dean was still there, mind you, a lot of people had, a lot of people, including myself, had a go in with Beeman on occasions, but I mean, we can thank him for all of the TPC golf courses around the country, and I think he did a fine job.
Like I say, one more here, and I mentioned your show For the Good of the Game, and you and Mike have done an outstanding job meeting with
Thank
a
you.
lot of the living Hall of Famers and spending time with, like I say, more of your contemporaries. Talk about your show and what it's about and how people can go out there and listen to it and the people that you've had on.
Yeah, they can. People can just go to our website For the Good of the Game, and they can sign up, and we distribute usually on a Thursday evening a show or two or three. It depends. It all depends on who we've had, and the last month or so we haven't been doing much, but I think we've done 109 different people, probably about, I'd say, close to 300 episodes total. And well, Jack, Gary, Sutton, Watson, you name them, we've had them, except for Johnny Miller and Raymond Floyd.
That's amazing. It's an amazing guest list, an amazing number of episodes. So kudos to you and Mike for the great job that you guys are doing. Bruce, before I let you go, remind our listeners, is there another way for them to stay up to date with the great things that you're still out there doing? Can they find you on social media? Is there a way besides on forthegoodofthegame.com?
Well, I have a foundation where we raise money for junior golf, and it's called the Devlin Foundation. Very original, right? and that we keep that up on a consistent basis. We have a golf tournament down at Secession every June, and we raise money for junior golf, and it's been a lot of fun for not only me but my family's involved too, which is great.
That is great. And so are you. Bruce, it's always a huge thrill to get to spend some time with you. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to come back and be a part of the show. I hope we get this privilege of catching up with you again sometime soon.
Thank you, Chris. Anytime, pal. Just give me a call.
I appreciate you. Take care, Bruce. All the best to you and your family.
Talk at you later. Bye.
See you, Bruce. That is the great Bruce Devlin, folks. What a wonderful man. He was a great player, a brilliant broadcaster. Like I said earlier, he made every broadcast that he was a part of infinitely better because of his skills and the way that he painted the pictures of the game. His podcast, again, For the Good of the Game, as you can imagine, FORE, For the Good of the Game. Go check it out. He and his co-host, Mike Gonzalez, they do a wonderful job. They've got there on their website. You can find them on social media as well, at For the Good of the Game. And boy, 109 guests, over 300 episodes, doing great things with his foundation for junior golf, and just a wonderful, wonderful human being. I look forward to having him back on the show again soon. Coming up next is a guy who I believe should be in the World Golf Hall of Fame in a journalist wing, a guy who's an all-time great, and that is Ron Sirak. Before I bring Ron into the show, I want to remind you about our wonderful friends over at On Point Golf and their out-of-this-world On Point golf ball marker. And if you don't have one, folks, you really need to go check it out at onpointgolf.us. Get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. OnPoint is the only three-dimensional ball marker out there, with alignment technology and a removable coin that is approved to use according to the rules of golf. As you know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with OnPoint, engage with your three-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and you're going to lower your scores. Do what the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals, and amateurs alike are doing now. They use the #1 ball marker in golf and they lower their scores. You know Ken Duke and Thongchai JD. They won for the first time on the PGA Tour in 2023, and they were using an OnPoint ball marker. Get yours at onpointgolf.us and make more putts. And oh, by the way, you can also customize the removable coin for any club, event, or corporate outing. They make really great tee gifts and custom products. That's also going to help lower your score. I use OnPoint ball markers. Mine is black and gold, 3D black golf ball with a gold line down the middle to help me line up my putts. It's like having a 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let it help yours? Again, onpointgolf.us. See what I'm talking about. Order yours today. I also want to remind you about our wonderful friends over at Squares Golf.
So Nick here. What if there was a golf shoe embraced by hundreds of thousands of golfers, celebrated for its stability, comfort and distance? What if this shoe earned the title of most technologically advanced golf shoe by Sports Illustrated? And what if the company behind that shoe spent the last year perfecting a brand new category of golf footwear? Well, the what if is here. Introducing the all-new Pro S2 LT by Squares, a new class all of its own, the perfect blend of lightweight comfort and stable performance. You'll notice the difference. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares.
I also want to give a special shout out to our wonderful friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company. Their pumpkin ale is back, folks. It's the #1 selling pumpkin beer in Western Pennsylvania, and incredibly popular everywhere their beer is sold. Why? Because it's everything you love about beer, disguised as everything you love about homemade pumpkin pie. Go online to pittsburghbrewing.com to check that one out. Plus, their other great beers, including the Blockhouse Blueberry Wheat, along with my family's favorites, Iron City Nicey Light, of course. Plus, make plans to attend Oktoberfest on Saturday, September 13th and Saturday, September 27th. Tickets are on sale now at pittsburghbrewing.com. From one all-time great to another, now back in Next on the Tee with me is one of the great golf writers of our time or any time, and that is Ron Sirak. Ron is from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, which is about 50 miles north of my hometown of Pittsburgh near the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. He attended Franklin and Marshall College in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where he wrote for the Lancaster Independent Press. His first job in golf was filling the pop cooler at Castle Hills Golf Course in his hometown. You probably know Ron's work as the senior writer for Golf Digest and a regular contributor on the Golf Channel. He was also an executive director for Golf World. Prior to all of that, he worked for the Associated Press for 18 years, the first 7 as supervising news editor before becoming the deputy sports editor and then a writer. He's co-authored 3 books alongside of Pia Nielsen and Lynn Marriott titled Every Shot Must Have a Purpose, The Game Before the Game, and Play Your Best Golf Now. He's also written a biography for young people about Greg Norman. Back in 2015, that was a great year for Ron. He received the PGA of America Lifetime Achievement Award in Journalism and the Media Excellence Award from the LPGA. He also received the Lincoln Worden Journalism Award from the Metropolitan Golf Writers Association. In 2021, he was inducted into the Western Pennsylvania Golf Association Hall of Fame, and I couldn't be more thrilled that I get to have him back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Ron, thanks for coming back on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure, particularly to talk to somebody with Pittsburgh roots.
There we go. So I got to start right there. Ron,
Yeah.
Looking back to the U.S. Open at Oakmont, before we talk about the tournament itself, I want to get your thoughts about the golf course. I know you've been on those grounds many times. What are your thoughts about Oakmont?
I think it's the hardest course in the United States. It's absolutely brilliant design. It tests every aspect of your game. And, the USGA does a great job when they set it up for the U.S. Open of making sure that they're not only testing your ability as a shot maker, but your mental discipline, your ability to think on the fly and to have to make decisions. And I think that it was a brilliant course. brilliantly set up by the USGA this year. I know there's a lot of people who don't like seeing players struggle to make pars, but I think once a year it is a highly entertaining event to see.
I agree 100% with all of that. I want to touch on one thing that you said, mental discipline.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, the USGA, it seems like every year in the US Open, it's the hardest golf course. They set it up very difficult, grow the rough up. But as we all know about the legend of Oakmont, right? It's ready to host a major with about a week's notice. The mental discipline it takes to be able to take your medicine if you put it in the rough and just sort of chip it out and take bogey if that's what you got to take. Seems like something, and we always hear about guys getting upset at Oakmont. We saw Rory break a tee marker, throw a driver. Brooks broke a tee marker. Obviously, Wyndham Clark broke a lot of things in the locker room. That mental discipline seems like it's a really tough thing to come about when you're playing at Oakmont.
Yeah, they give you a drivable par four, but maybe you shouldn't be trying to drive it. Maybe it's better to play it in a more conservative way. They give you hole locations that you shouldn't. I mean, there are some hole locations there when you have to pretend the flag doesn't exist. You just got to put the ball in the middle of the green. But they tease you. They tease you. They tease you. They move tee boxes around so that you get different looks. Not only different distances, but different angles off the tee. And all that really makes the players have to recalibrate their brain as they're playing. And I do think that is part of the major championship test. How well can you think on the fly? How well can you adapt to changing conditions? And how well can you deal with bad breaks? And that's one of the things I love about golf is everything doesn't go perfectly. You can hit a great drive and end up in a divot. And there are some people who think that rule should change. But the point is, how do you handle it when adversity jumps up at you? And that, in my mind, is part of the test of a major championship golf.
Ron, you can't think of Oakmont or Western Pennsylvania golf without thinking about Mr. Palmer. I know you had a long relationship with him. You wrote a wonderful article after he passed, simply titled, "Thanks, Arnie." In it, you wrote that the first time you saw him was at the Newcastle Municipal Airport, so right there in your hometown. He was there to play an exhibition. Your family couldn't afford to go. Talk about what it was like, at least getting to lay eyes on him for the first time and the impression he made on you.
Yeah, I mean, my main memory of him was his smile and his wave and that thumbs up. He always engaged with the people around him. My dad was a steel worker, and he played fast pitch softball, industrial league fast pitch softball. And when he was about 35 years old, a war injury started to catch up to him, and he couldn't run, so he was looking for a different sport. And that was 1955. And that was the year Arnold won his first professional tournament, the Canadian Open. And so that put him on my dad's radar screen because he was the son of a golf course superintendent too. He was like one of us, And I always say that Arnold took the game out of the country club and brought it to the masses. But Arnold won his first PGA Tour event in 1955. Won his first major at the Masters in 1958. By 1960. Every factory and mill in Western Pennsylvania had a 9-hole golf league. And my dad played in one of those 9-hole golf leagues. And that's what got me into the game. And that was because of Arnold Palmer. He's the single greatest grow the game program golf ever had.
You mentioned 1960, Ron. In 1960 in Western Pennsylvania, we started to see the downturn in the steel industry. Steel mills started closing down. People were starting to lose some of their jobs. Those layoffs, unfortunately, would find your father in 62. But in the sports world in 1960, around Pittsburgh, I mean, the Pirates with that improbable victory over the Yankees in the World Series, in the bottom of the ninth, a great home run by Maz. Mr. Palmer goes out and wins the Masters and the U.S. Open, finishes second in the Open Championship that year as well. Talk about what it was like living and growing up in Western Pennsylvania during that time.
Yeah, when I go back and try to catalog my sports memories and figure when did I start to remember things, I'm told I watched Don Larson's Perfect Game on TV. I don't remember it. I was 6 years old. I remember a little bit of the World Series in 57, 58, 59, but 1960 is when I really started paying attention because it was happening right in my backyard. My dad was a huge sports fan, and because of him, I started watching it. So I was very much aware that Arnold was winning 2 major championships that year and contending in a third. The Pittsburgh, what the Pirates did against the mighty Yankees was just off the charts. But I think that's the year for me personally that really cemented my love of sports. And when I first went into journalism, I spent the first 17 years of my journalism career in news, right as a news writer, news editor. And then when I had the opportunity at the Associated Press, I was offered a job in the sports department. There was a guy in the 80s at the Associated Press, Darrell Christian. He was a Washington news editor, and they made him the sports editor. And he came up with this radical idea, which was sports writers should be journalists first and sports fans second. So he started raiding the news desk at the AP, looking around for people who were sports fans but were trained as journalists. And he started poaching us and bringing us into the sports department. So for me, it was 60 was the beginning of my love, deep love for sports. And then by the time I was 37 years old, when I went back to sports, left news writing and went back to sports.
Ron, you got to MC the night that Mr. Palmer and another Pittsburgh local legend, Carol Semple Thompson, were inducted into the Western Pennsylvania Golf Association Hall of Fame. What was it like for you to get to be a part of that night?
That was amazing. One of the indelible memories I'll have is that I made Arnold cry that night.
Is that right?
In my introduction to him, because, I said as part of my introduction, I said, if we're going to have a conversation about who the greatest golfer of all time is, there's 5 or 6 or 7 people whose names would be in that conversation. But if we're going to talk about who's the most important golfer of all time, there's only one name in my opinion, and he's sitting right there, Arnold Palmer. He did more to grow the game than anybody else. He brought the game out of the country clubs to the masses. And I looked down, and Arnold was brushing a tear away, and that was
wow.
That made my heart skip a beat.
I bet it did. Carol Semple Thompson may be the greatest female amateur champion of all time. She never turned pro. She competed in the most USGA events ever with 121. Curtis Cup fans are going to remember the 2002 event when at the age of 53, oh, by the way, she sank an amazing 27-foot putt from just off the green on the last hole of the last match to win it for the U.S. team. It was held there in Pittsburgh at Fox Chapel that year. It is hard to imagine a better scenario for her to win an event of that nature right there in her hometown on the last hole of the last match. Explain to everybody what a great player she was.
Carol was a couple years ahead of me in school, so she was an inspiration for me. She was playing in national events when I was a freshman, sophomore in high school, and she was when we play. I remember I think my junior year in high school, one of the early rounds of the state golf championships was at Sewickley Heights, her golf course, and so she was an inspiration. And you're right, if you want to talk about the greatest female amateurs of all time, it's Joanne Carner and Carol Semple Thompson, and the discussion ends pretty much right there.
Ron, you've mentioned Ben Hogan a moment ago, and a little over 20 years ago, you wrote an article about him right after he passed away. And not enough people, I believe, know enough about Mr. Hogan and the things that he accomplished over his career. He's left off too many times when people want to talk about who are the greatest golfers of all time. Not enough people know about his accomplishments, including the amazing year he had in 1953, which included 5 wins in 6 tournaments that he played. And he won the Masters, U.S. Open, and the Open Championship. Heck, might have won the Grand Slam had the PGA Championship not been a match play format back then, and he wasn't able to walk and do the things because of that horrific accident. But remind everybody about how great Mr. Hogan was.
Well, one of my great thrills when I started working with Golf Digest was Dan Jenkins was writing for Digest at that time. And Dan was very, very close with Mr. Hogan. And Dan would, Dan could work Ben Hogan's name into any discussion or any story that he was writing. And he was once asked, "Why do you keep bringing up Hogan?" And he said, "Because if I don't, people will forget him." And it's that whole thing of What's happening right now is the greatest thing that's ever happened. It's hard to leave Ben Hogan's name out of the conversation when you're talking about greatest of all time. And by the way, I'm not a greatest of all time fan, because I think the best you can be is the greatest of your generation. It's hard to compare generations. But consider this: Ben Hogan in 1946 won 13 tournaments, then he won 7 tournaments in 47, then he won 10 tournaments in 48. He's the only PGA Tour player with multiple double-digit wins. And then he has the car crash in 49 and lays him up, comes back, famously wins the U.S. Open 16 months after the car crash, when he has to play 36-hole final round of the U.S. Open and then an 18-hole playoff. But I think one of the most remarkable statistics or accomplishments in sports history, of the first 9 majors Ben Hogan played after the car crash, he won 6 of them. That's just astounding. From 1940 to 1960, he never finished out of the top 10 in the U.S. Open.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard for me, Ron, because so many, what you said to lead off that answer, everything that happens now is greater than anything that happened in the past. I feel like so many golf fans nowadays don't remember anything prior to 1997 when Tiger showed up. But when you look at what Ben Hogan accomplished, to your point, it's hard to leave him out of, in my opinion, out of the top 4 or 5 greatest players of all time because of those accomplishments, because of what he overcame. But so many people nowadays look back at the golf fields from the 70s, 60s, 50s, and they were just all a bunch of plumbers and electricians that were out there playing. That comment drives me crazy, that people don't know how good players were in those decades.
And I'll stand by this argument. I think player number 156 in a field for Tiger Woods was a much better player than number 156 in the field for Jack Nicklaus. But I'm not sure number 10 in the field for Tiger Woods was better than number 10 in the field for Jack Nicklaus. Look at who Jack wins 18 majors, and he had to beat Gary Player, who won 9, Tom Watson, who won 8, Arnold Palmer, who won 7, Lee Trevino, who won 6. I mean, throw in a Billy Casper. Trevino to me is one of the great examples of Lee knew that Jack was better than him. But Lee also knew, if I can get to Sunday with a chance, I can beat him on one day. And I think it's really an undervalued accomplishment in golf is that Lee Trevino won 6 majors at the height of the Jack Nicklaus era. The competition that was going on between that top level when Nicklaus was at the top of his game. And think about this with Ben Hogan. Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, and Sam Snead were born within 6 months of each other in 1912. Those are 3 people who are on the short list. There are probably 3, if you were going to make a top 10 of all time, all 3 of them are in it. And they were competing against each other. There was a lot of competition there. And I watched Tiger Woods in 2000 psychologically destroy several golfers. Sergio Garcia was one. I think he got into Ernie Els' head. I thought Ernie Els would play the role of Arnold Palmer to Tiger's Jack Nicklaus and win 7 or 8 majors going up against Tiger. Tiger got in their heads and destroyed them. Jack and Hogan were incredible winners, but they went up against competitors who knew they were better, who the best player were, but they weren't afraid to go head to head with them.
You mentioned Sam Snead. One of the great things I think about Mr. Snead was how long he was great. I mean, he was finishing in top 5s when he was in his 60s and the 70s.
He finished, he finished 3rd in the PGA Championship at age 62. Think about that, 3rd at age 62. Also, he was the first person in the PGA Tour, it was at what was then called the Quad Cities Open, to shoot his age in a PGA Tour event. He shot 67 on Friday at the age of 67. He came back on Sunday and shot 66. So he shoots his age in round 2, and then he breaks his age in round 4. Yes, his longevity is totally unique.
Ron, just a couple more before I let you go. And like I mentioned in your intro, 2015 was a heck of a year for you. You received the PGA of America Lifetime Achievement Award for Journalism, the Media Excellence Award from the LPGA, and the Lincoln Worden Journalism Award from the Metropolitan Golf Writers Association. That's like winning 3 majors in a single year. So kudos to you. What was it like for you at that point to be at the pinnacle of your profession?
It came at a very melancholy time, because the year before, in 2014, Golf World, when I was there, Golf Digest was a monthly magazine. Golf World was a weekly magazine. Golf World started in 1947 and was around through the whole post-war period, and was folded as a result of the Great Recession in 2014. And I like to think in terms of print journalism, I got old at the right time. But in 2015, receiving all those awards made me appreciate how fortunate I was to see all of the careers of Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and to cover all of the careers of Tiger Woods and Annika Sorenstam. It was, the 3 greatest winners that I've ever covered are Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and Annika Sorenstam. And to have that privilege to be able to write about them and to see their entire careers unfold was very special to me. And when I got those awards, it made me realize how fortunate I was that I had that opportunity to do that.
Ron, switching gears, and I want to switch over to baseball. For baseball fans who are not familiar with the Cape Cod League, I know you live down there now on Cape Cod, and I lived on the South Shore there for several years and had an opportunity to go down and check out the Cape Cod League. Remind everybody about what a great league it is and some of the great players that have passed through the Cape Cod League.
Well, it's a wood bat amateur league, which the baseball scouts love. They get zillions of scouts who are there. It's 120 years old. It's had Frank Thomas, Thurman Munson, Carlton Fisk. Right now, 22% of the players in the major leagues played in the Cape Cod League. And one of my favorite things is about 10 years ago, my local team, the Orleans Firebirds, used to be called the Orleans Cardinals. And baseball said, hey, if you're going to use the name of a major league team, you got to pay us a rights fee. So most of the teams changed their names instead of paying the rights fee, except for the Harwich Mariners, who pointed out that they existed in 1920 and the Seattle Mariners didn't exist until whatever it was, 69 or something like that. So they won their lawsuit, but it's free for the fans. The players stay with local families here. They find them jobs. They run a kids camp in the morning. These players who are going to play baseball at 6:30 at night, from 9 in the morning to 11 in the morning, run a kids camp to teach baseball skills to the youngsters up here. Everything about it is just wonderfully, wonderfully entertaining.
Ron, you've helped author 3 other books as well with Pia Nielsen and Lynn Marriott. Talk about those 3 books and how our friends can go out there, pick it up, and what they're going to learn when they do.
Pia and Lynn have their teaching philosophy is called Vision 54. And where that comes from is, most golf courses are par 72. If you birdied every hole, you'd shoot a 54. And that's their philosophy. It's peak performance philosophy. You shouldn't be trying the par holes. You should be trying the birdie holes. Now, the way they adapt that for recreational golfers is everybody has their own vision of what they can shoot. For me, on my golf course, my golf course is a par 70 golf course. 75 is my goal on that golf course. So you adapt it, but they teach you mental discipline. They teach you the importance of learning to separate between what you can control and what you can't control, and how to let go of what you can't control and just focus on what you can control. They talk about commitment all the time. And one of their great phrases is pay attention to your intention. What's your intention for this shot? And then commit to it totally. Their most successful student is Annika Sorenstam, won 72 tournaments, 10 major championships, the career Grand Slam. I never saw any athlete as committed to routine as Annika. And it was what she was taught from Pia and Lynn. Commit to your decisions. When Annika had, she'd get behind the golf ball, and she spent about 20 seconds behind the golf ball, picking her target, picking her club, deciding what shot she was going to hit. And then when she took her stance and got over that golf ball, it was 4 to 8 seconds, and boom, the ball's off her club. All she'd do after she make her stance is take a look at the target, look back at the ball, and then go. And that's what they teach. Make a decision and commit 100% to that decision.
Ron, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can get copies of those books, plus also follow you online and on social media.
You can find them at vision54.com. You can find them at Amazon. And the book, Every Shot Must Have a Purpose, was published 20 years ago and is still doing incredibly well. It's become a landmark book out there. And my stuff, I have a website, ronsirak.com. I'm active on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And next week, I will be at the U.S. Senior Women's Open and writing for the USGA's website. So you can find me there.
Ron, you are just a national treasure, my friend. How you are not in the Pro Golf Hall of Fame and a journalist wing, I don't have any idea. But you're one of the all-time greats at what you do. You make our game infinitely better through your writing and through your vision and the way you paint the story. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. I hope I get this privilege to spend time with you again very, very soon.
It was my pleasure, Chris, and I totally appreciate all that you do for the game of golf. It's hugely important and hugely appreciated.
Well, thank you. Take care, Ron. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
See you soon.
See you, Ron. That is the great Ron Sirak, folks. RonSirak.com is the website. At Ron Sirak is where you can find him on Instagram and Twitter, and you can go out and get those books, like he said, on vision54.com or out on Amazon. And folks, when you read Ron's stuff, it's just outstanding. And, he mentioned how he made Mr. Palmer emotional when he emceed the Western Pennsylvania Golf Association Hall of Fame inductions. Well, that's what I think part of what makes Ron so great is the emotion that he brings out in you in his writing, the great vision and the great pictures that he paints for your mind, and then the emotional attachment you get by reading his stuff. He's just a treasure. I mean, how he's not in the Pro Golf Hall of Fame, the World Golf Hall of Fame, I don't know, but he certainly should be. And that's one of the things that we'll start campaigning for here very soon. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on part one of this week's show. Huge thank you to Bruce Devlin and Ron Sirak for joining me. I hope you enjoyed part one of the show. If you did half as much as I did, we really got something special. Both guys, Bruce Devlin, a legend, Ron Sirak, a legend, two all-time greats at what they do, playing the game and writing about it. So I look forward to having both of those guys back on the show again, hopefully a little bit later on in the year. Now come back for part two, because I'm joined for a sixth time by one of the best caddies out on the PGA Tour and a guy who's one of the most accomplished players in the history of the state of Tennessee, and that is Kip Henley. Kip, as you guys know, fantastic. What a wonderful individual. So much fun to follow on social media. Even better to get to talk to him live. And a guy, like I say, who has won every major tournament in the state of Tennessee that there is to win. Also won the Big Break, too, all the way back in the day. We'll talk about all of that and a whole lot more in the next part of the show, so come back for that. Folks, I can't thank you enough for continuing to make Next on the Tee a part of your weekly golf content. I appreciate you all so very much. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.